Hello and welcome back. This is the Clay Golem. This is Foundry VTT, and in this video we're looking at a mod. This is the BG3 inspired HUD. That's the Baldur's Gate 3. So from the computer game inspired by that. So you can see the modules I've got installed. The only modules I've got is indeed BG3 inspired HUD, and that requires libwrapper and the libcolor settings to support it. So that's the only thing I've got installed here. I haven't got anything else whatsoever. So what does this do? Now, first of all, you probably are aware, if you've been watching my videos, that I use a combat HUD in my game. This is essentially, you would use this one instead of that. So you've got a couple of choices. That one you're already familiar with. We've already looked at that previously. But we're going to look at this one today. I'm going to minimize my sidebar there. I can click on any of these characters and they do their normal thing. Don't bring up any HUD or anything like that. But you'll notice on the left hand side I've now got this little game controller icon here. If I click this, you'll notice it says it's the toggle BG3 hotbar, and that enables this actually to work. So players can turn this on and off if they want to. Let's look at Hayley. So I'm just doing a simple left click to select Hayley, and this is what we get. Now, I have deliberately made mine quite large on here to make it easier for you to see, but you can straight away see at the bottom what it kind of looks like. So we've got our portrait of Hayley over on the left there. Now, I have got my players thing slightly in the way. I could hide that. I haven't got mine hidden. But you can see I can hover over that and it gives us some details there. I've got dice here, so I can immediately do a check or a save directly from here. That's quite nice, isn't it? You'll notice it also came up, if I pick strength on the left there, it's given me the ability to do an athletics check as well. So that's really, really cool. I can pick wisdom, and again, so it's slightly off to the left. I've got mine exaggerated big, which is why it's flowing over the edge of the screen there. But you can see I can do my saves, I can do my checks, and I've got my skill checks directly tied with that. That's nice. All right, what else have we got? We've obviously got these, you can see this is number one. I've got my mace and my shield master shove. I'll talk about that kind of as we go through. I've got my second lot of weapons, which is my second hand, my two-handed hammer. And I've also got my hand axe there as a third one. So I've got three lots of equipped weapons slots, if you like, which is cool. That's going to be enough for most characters. But you'll notice this first block here, I can put stuff in here and choose to have this however I like. There's that hand axe again, there's that warhammer again. So I can activate this directly from this submenu. I don't need to have that, but that's a really good way of switching weapons and showing what you've got. But I can click directly on these items in here, and I'll show you about populating that in a moment. We have a separate section here that we can pop in whatever we like, and a third section. There is nothing to tell you what you can and can't put into each of these sections. They're just dividers for your use and purpose. Use it for whatever you like. Now, I've kind of got mine as sort of equipment, followed by my abilities, followed by spells in this particular case. However I want to do it. It's entirely up to the players to customize this. Few other things before we talk about how to do that is just above here, above this first box, you can see I've got these four icons. These are my passive abilities. So my spell casting's on there, divine domain, discipline of life, and my shield master. Those are passive abilities, so I've got to I'll stop clicking off of it. So they show there, so all the time. That's really easy to see, and of course I can very quickly as a player remind myself of a description of that. But that applies to any of these things. If I hover over it, I'm just going to get my description of it, so I can remember exactly what that does. So that is really nice. I don't have to open the character sheet, find the item on the character sheet and do that. Now, of course, with spells, Hayley is a cleric, so she's got access to quite a lot of spells, even though she's still quite low level. I can still, of course, go into her character sheet and see her full list of them. So what I've sort of done here is gone, well, here's the common things she might be using. Bless, Guiding Bolt and Command. She's got her cantrips on here for Light Mending, Spare the Dying. She's got her cures, her Cure Wounds, Healing Word, and then she's got her protections. And let's just say those are the ones she most commonly uses. Bam, that on there. Easy, easy peasy. Which is really, really nice. Okay, what else do we have? Of course, on the right hand side, you've already spotted it, that we have short rest and long rest directly on there. We've got this little shrinky bit, so we can shrink it if we need to and bring it back up, but of course we can just turn it on and off from that toggle if we wish to. Excuse me, this little persistent cough has still not completely left me. It's driving me slightly bonkers. Alright, now you can see right in the middle, just above where my cursor is, right in the middle, just above that middle box, this little thing with all these pretty coloured shapes on. What the heck is this? If you hover over them, you'll see that that is action, bonus action, reaction, a feature, cantrips, and then first level spells. If I click on any of these, it will dim out anything that doesn't meet that requirement. So straight away, everything's gone dim in those boxes except in the right hand box where it has highlighted all of my first level spells. I can change that to show me all my cantrips. There's 3 of them. Any of my features, reaction abilities. So one of those Shield Master abilities, the evasion feature, is a reaction. Show you my bonus action things. So I've got my Shield Master shove, but I've also got 3 different spells that only take a bonus action. And then of course my things that take a full action. So a lot of some of my spells have been dropped to show me that I don't need a full action for them, and it's highlighted the ones that I have, along with my weapons and things like that. That is so useful for especially new players who are brand new to the game and they're not sure what is a bonus action, what's not. Really, really useful. But for experienced players as well, especially if you're playing a class that you're not used to or something like that. It's so much to remember with those details. It gives that really quick and easy way to do that. And of course, any of these, you can just click on this. I've got my chat closed. If I just open my chat, I can click on this and instantly it's running that spell for me. Now, there we go. So it's got my little icon on Hayley there showing that I've got light running. It really is that easy. If I target Hayley, I can do my Cure Wounds and I can cast my Cure Wounds on Hayley, asking me to roll, of course. So I can run things directly from there. It doesn't matter if I apply it because she's on full health. I can run stuff directly from there, which is really, really nice. So nice and interactive, very, very simple to use. The last thing before we look at how to set these bits up is if you look next to the portrait, you're thinking, why has he skipped that? This bit down here where I'm hovering, if I get off of that so you can see what's actually there, you can see it says grapple, dodge, shove, dash, hide and disengage. Now when you start with it, those are going to be blank. What they are is if you have the Cauldron of Plentiful Resources, so CPR, if you have that installed, you have the ability to pre-populate all character sheets with those standard actions: dodge, shove, disengage, hide, bash. Dash, bash. It's because I'm looking at the Shield Master stuff. It will bring those into the character sheet, and in the HUD here, it will populate those boxes. So again, you know, I can very quickly access and say, well, I'm going to disengage. Brilliant. And of course that will show up on the chat right at the bottom there. Hayley's disengaging. So very, very simple and easy to use. Can I make that? That's just going to be a bit of a pain, isn't it? There we go. Make it a bit smaller up there. That will do nicely. So really easy to access. Most of the time I don't need to access my character sheet at all because it's all here, which is really good. I really like that. I think my players will really like it too. We'll come to the settings in a bit. If I choose this Bloodhawk instead, notice its bar looks different. Why? Well, it doesn't have that huge amount of equipment and spells and everything else. It's pretty much just got its beak attack and this one passive feature of pack tactics. So these I don't kind of need. Now you've got this plus and minus here. So, I mean, obviously that's quite ridiculous. But you can per token, per actor, change this. So it only goes down to a minimum of 1. So for creatures like this, I'm not going to have that expanded. Haley's got a lot more features, so I'm going to have it, you know, the player might want that expanded. For the monster, not so many features, I'm going to have that shorter. So that's really nice, the fact that you can do that per actor. You'll notice you can also lock this. It says please right click the lock button, and enables you to lock certain things like drag and drop and opacity and things like that if you wish to. And again, players can do that individually. And there are some settings here that you can use to reset the layout to the default, clear all the items in here, but you can also import and export the layout. So if you've got a particular layout that you like to use for all of your monsters or all of your NPCs or something, you can set that up, export that layout, and then just import it for other ones, so you get that matching thing, make it much quicker to set up multiple. So yeah, a couple of nifty little built-in features there that just make your life slightly easier. Right, so how do we go about populating some of this stuff? That's why I've got Sorryman on here as well. So if I click on Sorryman, I've not populated anything for Sorryman. What it does do, because I previously bought in CPR, I've disabled it for doing this video, but I bought in CPR when I set this up. So I have got his CPR abilities on here. If I look on his character sheet, under his features, where does it put them? Where does it put them? Oh, it might have taken them off of here because I've taken CPR off. Well, there you go. But they're already brought through onto his bar. Okay, sorry, ignore that. Normally they'd all be on the character sheet, of course, but because I've taken CPR off, they're not. But I'd already brought them through to here, so that's fine. Now, his is blank at the moment, so how do we populate this? Now, firstly, look at the amount of passives he has, because he's a bit higher level. And some of these are not going to be useful during the game. I mean, you know, okay, you've got Magic Initiate Sorcerer for True Strike. Do I care about that during the game? No, I don't. So I can right click on this, and this says Configure Passive Features. So I can say, right, what is it that I actually would like to be shown there? Because the chances are it's not going to be much of it. Danger Sense might be worth knowing. Reckless Attack, well, hang on a minute, isn't that an active choice? I might, let's say I'm going to switch that on anyway. Aspect of the Wolf, in case I need to reference and remember what that is. Spirit Seeker, Primal Path, I'm going to leave those ones on, and I can save, and suddenly it's only showing me those ones. So the ones I want to quick reference are right there. So that's really nice. I've clicked off it again. The fact that you can customize those, that I really, really like. Reduce the clutter, only show what you need. Right, so what about populating this first box? So if I right click on this, you can see I can clear the container, I can sort this container, or I can auto populate. Let's click auto populate. Now this will allow me to choose what kind of things to populate in this very first box here. I'm going to select, give me my weapons, my consumables, my equipment, and my tools. And if I do populate, it will automatically bring those in. So you see it's brought in not only my dagger and my unarmed strike and quarterstaff, but it's brought in my potion of healing, it's brought in my torch, it's brought in this helm of comprehending languages. I don't remember giving that to him, but clearly I did at some point when I was testing. And his water skin. Now I could drag these and I can move these around and go, well, hang on a minute. Torch and water skin can go down there. Maybe I'm going to put my weapons over here. Unarmed strike, that's a piece of equipment. You know, I can move them around however I would like to do that, which is really, really nice. So this second one here, I might auto populate and say I want this to be all my features. Thank you very much. I'm going to populate that. And this third one here is going to be all of my spells. Now, Sorryman, because he does have that initiate, that sorcery initiate, he's got quite a few different bits going on. So this middle box now, again, I've got this chromatic bolero that was a while ago. Somebody asked me to help them create that, and I created that. If I don't actually need that, I can actually edit that item directly, configure its activities, or remove it from here. So although I've auto-populated, I can still remove it. Now, what is he going to be using most of? Rage, of course. But I've got my Tavern Brawler Strike here. And I've got my Tavern Brawler Grapple if I want them for reference. Now, the Tavern Brawler Strike kind of should be built in, so I shouldn't need to worry about that. Again, you saw that we can remove them as and when we want to. I've got 2 versions of Catapult. That's because I was messing with the spell. Though obviously I should remove it from the character sheet, but I'm just going to remove it like that. Same as I've got 2 versions of Ray of Sickness, because this is one of my test worlds and where I create stuff and play with it and I get it working, or play with different ideas and approaches to different things. So that's why sometimes you think, why has that character got weirdness on it? Because I'm fiddling with them and messing with them and just generally breaking them. So yeah, I can move any of these things. You know, he's got Levitate, for example. I can move these things around however I want. I've got all my spells in there. And of course, I can go, right, what's my bonus action? I can Rage as a bonus action, and I've got my Tavern Brawler Grapple is a bonus action. What about reactions? Got nothing under reactions. What are my features? That's showing up, of course, only in the features section, because that's where I added them. I can look at cantrips. Now, the reason why that didn't show any spells is because he's got innate spell casting. So if it's innate spell casting, it's not a leveled spell, so they don't come under first level, second level, which is why I don't have those options. And it's not showing up as a cantrip because I don't have any cantrips there. So just in case you're wondering why nothing shows up. But we saw that working on Haley. That was absolutely fine. And again, I can do action. Now, I can populate his weapons in a very similar way. I can also populate that and say, give me weapons. Now, it's getting slightly confused because it's going, but hang on a minute, I've already put weapons in, are you sure? Now, the easiest, probably best way to do this is to just drag this in. And you can do this with any of these things. I've got Cloak of Protection. Let's say I want to have that in my features. There we go. I just drag that in so I know that that is there. Actually, I probably would have put it over there as a piece of equipment because that was what I said. I can just drag it over there. What is Sorryman's main? Because I'm going to use one for his main just because. That's his quarterstaff. Now, note that it put his quarterstaff in only one of those boxes. When we saw Haley and I had her two-handed hammer, it occupied both of them. It doesn't kind of make that distinction, especially with something like the quarterstaff, because it's versatile. It could be one-handed or two-handed. If he's going to be using it two-handed, I'm going to dump it in both, only because it gives me the visual representation that he's using it with both hands. You know, you could do things like duplicate the quarterstaff and say two-handed quarterstaff, and therefore you would have, you know, click the left one is one-handed attack, click the right one is the two-handed attack. You could do that if you wanted to. Again, however your players want to use it, however you want to lay it out, you could choose to do that. Now I could just click into, you can see just behind here at the top, it's hiding weapon set 2, and just below here it's got weapon set 3. I can click on that to take me to weapon set 2, and then I can drop in whatever I want. So his second weapon set is going to be basically hurling his hand axe at them. Now again, you know, that's definitely a one-handed item. I don't need to put anything else in there. But visually, I might want to put his shield. I mean, he doesn't use a shield. That's not his thing at all. It's just, again, just junk that I've got in his inventory. But I might want to do it like that. Does the shield do anything? No, it doesn't. It just sits there. But visually, it shows that both my hands are occupied. It's a reminder that we've got the shield up. That's how I would probably set mine up for myself, so I always know that both my hands are occupied. Now, if we look at Haley again, notice I haven't got her shield there. Instead, I put her Shield Master Shove ability there. Because commonly, she will use that. If she's in melee combat, she's going to be hitting them with their mace and trying to shove them to the floor, because that's her style. So she's going to be using that as part of her combat round pretty much every single round. You smack them to the floor so they're prone, advantage to smash them with the mace. They try to get up, you smash them to the floor, you hit them with the mace. That's her modus operandi. That's the way that she operates with that. So just having a picture of the shield there wouldn't make sense. Put the ability there. And then again, I can just click that. You'll see the chat just above here. It's just popped up with the Shield Master Shove. So it just does it nice and quick and easy to reference. Anyway, sorry, Haley, we're not talking about you. We're talking about Sorryman. And then I can obviously populate 3. It might be something else, crossbow, whatever you want to put in there. But you can pretty much, and I think you can actually just dump, yeah, you can dump your spells in there. So if you're talking about a warlock and he's pretty much constantly throwing out, you know, one particular spell, I'll let you guess which one warlocks use all day, every day. You could choose to put that in there. It's easy reference. You don't need to have it over here. This might have their backup spells. If they're using it all the time, you can stick it in their weapon preference if you want to. But that's the point, is you can fully customize it. You'll also notice that Saruman is injured, and on the left-hand side you can see that he's got those red lines above his, you know, on his card there, showing that he is, I've unclicked again, that he is in fact injured. So really nice, really sweet. I really like it. Do I like it better than the HUD I'm currently using? Not sure. I'm going to do a lot more testing and make sure it doesn't give me any grief, and then I'm going to put it out to my current player group. I'm going to give them a screenshot of each and say, hey, do you want to swap to this and see how it works? And if they say, yeah, let's give it a go, then I'll use it and we'll give it a go, which is really good. Because, you know, ultimately it's a tool for them as well. Right, let's look at some settings, shall we? So again, I haven't got much on here, but we've got the BG3 inspired HUD. There's quite a few settings. General settings. Do we want to collapse that macro bar? So you can't see that macro bar because I had it collapsed. If I say never collapse it, you can see it's now over the top of the HUD here, which is ugly. But that doesn't mean we can't do something about it, all right? The player list visibility, now that's the one on the left there that is currently slightly annoying. I can completely hide that, and that gives us a much better, I should have hidden the other one as well, of course. Collapse it, yes. There we go, we can see Saruman much easier now. We can see his health bar and his hit points on there because I can collapse those. But you don't have to do that. So let's say we're never going to collapse the hotbar. We're always going to show the player list. The pause, this pause thing here, you can choose to hide that as well if you want to. Let me click on Saruman again. Not hide it, but you can see that's over the top of the HUD. You can change it so it's not always over the top of the HUD if you want to. I would probably have it over the top of the HUD myself. Now, this is where you can change the scale of this. Now, you'll see that I turned off auto UI scale and I set it to take up the maximum amount of space. Again, to just try to make it visually easier for you guys to see. Let's click auto scale and save changes, and you can see that shrinks that down a bit to perhaps a slightly more, I'm going to unpause it to get rid of that, to a slightly more usable size. But you can scale it as well. So if I put that up to 130, oh, it's not going to affect it because I've got the auto size on. But that's fine, so you can change that. You can also change it from the center to the left and the right if you wish to move it, and you can put some padding on here. Now, UI position bottom padding, let's change that to 50 and see what happens. See, that just jumped up? Now, it's not jumped up far enough to be above the macro bar, but we can easily do that. I reckon if we change that, but let's change it to 150 just to prove the point. That's now going to jump up. So I can move it around if I want to have my macro bar. I can absolutely do that. What I would suggest is if you've got macros and things like that, you know, you could just 3 goats. That was that's when we were running summoning macros. That's why I've got 3 goats in there. But you can drop the macros in here rather than using that macro bar. Which is probably a smoother experience for your players. Now, again, as the DM, you may want these macro bars for yourself, but of course you can work that out, you know, and get that set up however you want it, because your players can do their own UI stuff here. So I think I'm going to say, well, actually, do you know what? I'm going to hide completely for that. I'm going to leave it as auto. I'm going to take it off of auto scale and put it back to 100 so it's easier for you guys to see. I'm going to leave it centered. I'm going to put that back to 20 or whatever I had it at. Excuse me. I want to collapse the macro bar. Yes, collapse the macro bar. So I can put that back to kind of how it was. A bit easier for you. Right. I got distracted again. You can make these various things opaque or fading out if you wish to. There are theme settings here. This I really like because some of you are looking at it and going, why does your look different to mine? Because you can change the theme, and there's really good customization here. So there's straight away you can change it to default or to a gold mode, but you can change the border colors, you can set the size of the portraits, you can change the hotbar stuff, the weapon set coloring. Lots and lots of different things that you can do here. Now notice passive effects. Let's take active effects, and we can change the border color on those if we want to. Let's see if we can make those. Let's make those really green, for example, right? Really hideously green. Oh, it's shrunk my thing again. Why did it do that? Why did it do that? So first of all, while it's small, notice that these borders around these windows have changed to gold because I changed it to that gold theme, right? Because that's why I asked it to do. And you can see as I select these different things, I'm not seeing the green come up. Always read the comments. There's people who use this all of the time and they're going, oh, it's because of that. Really simple. I don't want to spend time debugging it right now. Right. What did I do to my UI scale? Why did it go small again? There we go. That's better. Again, slightly bigger than it was, but that's good for you guys. Portrait settings, so you can hide the images if you want to. So also hide health overlay and text if you wish to do that. So you can make all of these different changes, hit point controls, display death saving throw, so you can say never show it, however you want to do it. All of these different things you can hear. Always use a character portrait, always use the token image, so you can select between those. You can have it square, you can have it round, you can put borders, etc. Lots of little things you can do to customize it to your liking. Now, if I end up using this in Curse of Strahd, for example, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to go round and I'm going to change some of those theme colors. Black, of course, because it's vampires and dark and werewolves and things, and that blood red color as well. So that's going to be my two main themes that I would have for that. Notice you can have open character sheet on click. We can put that on. Hotbar settings, again, fully customizable with things like showing the item names, showing the quantity of stuff like 1 out of 1 potion of healing, 1 out of 4 rage, so we can have those things on if we want to. Enable weapon sets auto equip. So if checked, selecting a token or switching between weapon sets will automatically equip or unequip items. So that's really useful. So if Sorryman has currently got his moves to quarterstaff, it should, I'm going to save that. Let's check that. So Sorryman's armor class is currently 13, right? Because he's unarmored, he's got +3 dexterity. That's interesting. Why is his unarmored defense not working? Don't worry. Now, if I change his weapon set to the shield, his armor class just jumped to the +2 because he's now equipped the shield. So you can see that if you look at this line down here towards the bottom, you can see it's got that little shield icon. If I change off of that back to quarterstaff, it's taken off that shield. Okay, and it's now equipped his quarterstaff again, and of course it's dropped his armor class because he's not using it. That is really nice little feature. So as they switch between that, you know, they can't claim to have that armor class with a shield if they're running around with a crossbow in their hand. It's like, nope, not going to work, which is cool. Where do we get to? Filter settings. So hotbar filter, hovering, auto populate settings. So you saw us do the auto populating when we did that, and we just said bring in these things. There are absolutely some stuff that you can do for here as well. Auto populate for linked tokens and for unlinked tokens. Selecting item types. You know, so auto populate container 1. You can set this up to say always put in container 1 weapons, consumables, equipment and tools. In 2, always put in features, and in 3, always put in spells, or whatever it is you want to do. Allow passives for auto populate, we can click that on, and then when we auto populate it will allow us to do all of that. We've also got the tooltips you can turn on and off if required, so loads and loads of customizations for that. Again, we can auto populate and select individually, and I think when it's a new one you can just say auto populate all. I don't think it does that. Oh look, we can actually switch if we want to manually there, so that's useful. I didn't realize that at first. We've got a default of use the character portrait, but actually they can toggle between the two if they want to anyway, which is quite nice. Ooh, okay, so what do we think? Again, there are people using this all the time. Always read the comments, because there will be people saying, okay, you've missed something really important that you should have shown off, because it happens every single time. Because I'm not using this all the time. In fact, I've never actually used this in a game, so I do tend to miss things. So always do read the comments. Do you like this? Some of you I know already use it because you've made the comments when we were looking at the Carolingian UI. We were looking at that last time. Now, bearing in mind that that changes the look and feel of the UI, it's got nothing to do with the HUD, but the chances are those two would work nicely for you to be able to theme the whole thing if you wanted to. Or are you using an alternative HUD instead? If so, what are the, for you, because it's personal choice, of course it is, for your group and your own preferences, which HUD are you using if you are using one? Would you swap to this HUD now you've seen it, or would you stick with your own HUD? What's the pros and cons of your choice of HUD? That'd be really, really interesting to know. It'd be really, really useful for other people to see as well. Really appreciate that. Now, of course, apart from leaving those comments, leave any comments you like. Please be nice. If you can't be nice, then just say hi. Leave a like, of course, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. It really does help us out. Lets us know what you that you are interested in continuing to watch this stuff and move forward. And of course, if there's anything particularly that you want to see, you've got questions about how to run games, how to do stuff in Foundry, if you can't find the answer within my videos already, you're welcome to drop that in the comments as well. Obviously, we can't answer every single question, and some of them are really individual technical questions or about very specific automations, but we always do try to help out where we can. Thank you for watching, appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next one.